Welcome to the Film Channel Movie Silver Screen. This channel brings the best enjoyment, interesting content and intriguing things to every one of its watchers. Subscribe today to stay up to date with the latest movie reviews. And let's have fun together.
Is this Joker the real Joker? People will inevitably have strong opinions on Joker, one of the oldest villains in comic book history. Who is telling the truth when ratings range from disappointing with insufficient action and violence to fantastic and Oscar-worthy? Todd Phillips' Joker has stirred up quite a tempest since its premiere at the Venice Film Festival, where it earned the top award. Joker is a supervillain origin story about a figure who has already won 3 Oscars on the big screen. It's not difficult to see the appeal. As we follow Arthur Fleck's, Joaquin Phoenix, private life and observe his hardships and misfortunes, it's difficult not to empathize with his character. A man who keeps to himself, trying his best, but is constantly disregarded and bullied. Your heart longs for someone to understand him. Joker narrates the story of Arthur's descent, and, in some ways, ascent, but it's evident from the start that he's a basket case, a master of his own sorrow. He wants to connect, but he can't. This is a tormented man who still seeks anything as simple as a glimmer of optimism. But the challenges of budget cuts, mental health issues, and a lack of assistance become too much for him. He's too out there. Like Norman Bates, he's a self-conscious, postmodern headcase, a person who spends every second attempting to contort himself into a regular shape, but he knows the effort is futile, so he makes it all into a joke that only he understands. Arthur's loneliness plays a role in his transformation from Fleck to Joker. Arthur, a 2-bit professional clown and aspiring stand-up comic who lives with his batty mother, Frances Conroy, in a peeling paint flat, is central to both the film and our psychological perspective. This film depicts the real-life struggle of a man struggling with mental illness, limited funds, and a lack of help while providing support to his mother. And it's unsettlingly raw. The Joker, the epitome of total anarchy, may be portrayed light or heavy, scary or funny, or all at once. He's at the dark heart of every scene, the way Travis Bickle was in Taxi Driver, and Joker is a movie made in direct homage to Taxi Driver, though there are other films it will make you think of. He can sneer like Jack Nicholson, snarl like Heath Ledger, or not sure what Jared Leto was doing, but never mind. But in Joker, Todd Phillips' hypnotically perverse, ghoulishly grippingly urban nightmare comic fantasia, Arthur Fleck, the mentally ill loser freak who will, down the line, become Batman's nemesis, stands before us not as a majestic villain but as a pathetic specimen of raw human damage. Not everyone is a fan, with many condemning the film, referencing previous portrayals of the Joker and wondering how it fits into current narratives. There are aspects taken from Death Wish, Network, V for Vendetta, The Empire Strikes Back, The Shining, and The Purge. One of the interesting facts was that in the early phases of production, Warner Brothers chose Martin Scorsese to direct, taking influence from his film The King of Comedy, and Leonardo DiCaprio to play Arthur Fleck, the film's version of the Joker. The screenplay was frequently revised on the day before filming, forcing the actors to adapt and even improvise their characters' dialogue, which they accomplished admirably. A terrible reminder that the system does not care about broken individuals, reflecting attitudes towards mental health that we are still working to change today. Fleck is the victim of a failed system and a world built to enrich the wealthy while impoverishing the poor. Phoenix's performance is astounding. Phoenix is one of the modern screen's underappreciated dancers, skinny, twitchy, and at times startlingly graceful. Arthur bears a physical and psychological resemblance to Freddie Quell, the misfit drifter Phoenix played in The Master. His ribs and shoulder blades protrude, black brows, sallow cheeks plunged in gloom, a mouth so rubbery it appears to be sneering at the very concept of expressiveness, all finished off by a greasy mop of hair. Joaquin Phoenix, as the character, laughs so much that no one else does. It doesn't express delight, it expresses Arthur's lack of emotion, his inner death. He has a crush on his neighbor, Zazie Beetz, which he believes may be reciprocated. He keeps a notepad full of stand-up material and works up the courage to perform at a nightclub's open mic night. The problems arise when the film revs its allegorical engine and Phoenix tries to assemble a character from the tics and tropes he has been given. The film's largest ambiguities and questions come within the last scenes and have left many with further inquiries and a whole bunch of theories. The cleverest thing here is the depiction of Robert De Niro as a late-night, Carson-esque talk show presenter similar to the one played by Jerry Lewis in Martin Scorsese's The King of Comedy. In that movie, De Niro played the crazed stalker, a talentless wannabe assuming to breathe the same air as his idol and quarry. This time, he's in the big chair, fueling Arthur Fleck's celebrity addiction. Phillips, a filmmaker gifted enough to stand on his own, but overly reliant on his inspirations. However, within that framework, he builds a stunningly disturbed psychomorality drama, one that speaks to the age of incels, mass shooters, and no-hope politics, as well as the kind of hatred that arises from broken hopes. As we continue on this voyage of discovery, we have a deeper knowledge of his childhood and the events that shaped him into the man he is now. We comprehend how these contributing elements were the catalyst for Arthur Fleck's breakdown and the birth of the Joker we know today. When he is fired for revealing a handgun during a clown gig at a children's hospital ward, there is suspense built into everything that happens, and it revolves around the question, how will someone this weak and inept, this trapped in the nuttiness of his self-deception, evolve into a figure of dark power? The perverse commitment of Phoenix's portrayal allows us to feel how the violence washes Arthur. After the killings, he performs Tai Chi in a lavatory and is reborn. He seeks vengeance for the traumas he has suffered at the hands of a broken and unequal society, but strangely still exhibits compassion for those who assist him. With no clear advice on what is real or phony, the movie left some viewers scratching their heads for answers. In his version of events, he goes into a relationship with his neighbor Sophie, Zazie Beetz, despite his social ineptitude, and manages to maintain a love and healthy relationship. When Arthur meets his neighbor Sophie, Zazie Beetz, in the lift, the two take turns miming Travis Bickle's finger, pistol, against the head suicide gesture, which becomes the film's central motif. It means, this is what America has become, a country where people want to blow their brains out. She continues to back him in all that he does, even when the rest of the world turns against him. He is recognized as an icon and idolized in the concluding scenes, when the Joker is raised onto the bonnet and applauded. Was this also real? Phillips, who co-wrote the script with Scott Silver, takes us back to the dark old days of Gotham City, when labor was scarce, rats were widespread, and a garbage strike clogged the streets. Joaquin Phoenix went on an intensive diet and shed 52 pounds. The Joker produces at least 3 distinct laughs: the affliction laugh, the one of the guys laugh, and the authentic joy laugh at the conclusion. Phoenix gained a thorough understanding of the ailment and its effects on individuals by examining real-life PBA instances. This syndrome, also known as pseudobulbar effect, PBA, leads patients to laugh or cry excessively, usually in inappropriate circumstances. This research enabled him to build a more authentic and nuanced portrait of Arthur. The appearance and sound, with photography by Lawrence Sher and a cello-heavy score by Hildur Gudnadottir, convey seriousness and depth. There was no pre-existing background knowledge in this film, thus the character could be developed freely. This allowed us to see the Joker in a completely new perspective and comprehend him in ways that had not been explored before. But he also has the weight of being a victimized everyman in a parable that is unable to provide its story clearly. His profound alienation stems from social inequality, a decline in civility, political corruption, television, government bureaucracy, and a variety of other factors. It would be inappropriate to compare him to Heath Ledger and Jack Nicholson, who portray very distinct aspects of the Joker. The film presents the depths of mental health, the impact we have on others, and the power of our words and deeds. In a funny way, Arthur conceals his brains, which are shown only after he passes through the looking glass of villainy. He's simply improvising, going with the flow of his crazy. It looks that whenever he is joyful or expresses affection, it does not seem real. The first hypothesis is that, save from the 2 scenes we know about, everything after the police crash is not real. It appears that he is in a euphoric condition, which reinforces the assumption that it is not real. Arthur Fleck's representation in the film could be a fake, given he is hospitalized throughout the plot. If he does not die, he is taken to Arkham, where he can be seen later. The closing sequence depicting the Waynes' deaths is confusing, and Fleck's flashback of Bruce standing over their lifeless bodies is puzzling. The film may potentially be fictitious, with Fleck hospitalized during the story's telling as he battles to distinguish between fact and dreams. When he dances on the long concrete stairwell near his house to Gary Glitter's Rock and Roll Part 2 on the soundtrack, it's a moment of sublime craziness since he's not attempting to be the Joker. It's possible that this was the story of someone who influenced the future Joker. The Joker's acceptance of radical evil becomes a kind of integrity. Maybe the real Joker is with the mob? This would explain why the time frame doesn't exactly correspond to the comics. Many have asked, and rightfully so, do we need another Joker film? However, what we really need are comic book pictures with verite seriousness, that take place in the real world, so that there is something more dramatic at stake than whether the film in question will gross $1.5 billion globally. Joker pulls off the remarkable accomplishment of telling the Joker's genesis story as if it were unprecedented. And when he gets his fluky big break to appear on TV, we believe we know what's going to happen, that he's doomed to be humiliated, but what we see instead is a monster reborn with a smile. Phoenix's favorite American actor is Robert De Niro, and the two rarely speak on set. Although many previous actors went to unpleasant places in real life to play the Joker, Phoenix claims he didn't have that experience. Following the film's debut in 2019, the character of Arthur Fleck, Joker, became a symbol of protest against government corruption in countries around the world, including Lebanon, Chile, Iraq, and China.